Well, hello there. Welcome.
Hi, Laina.
Good to have you join. This is so exciting. Today is January the 11th, and it is the Wednesday Ascension with A Course in Miracles transmissions. And since you are new to this, let me share a little bit about how this goes, and just know that different people will be popping in. Normally, that's how it happens. Okay, they're starting to come in. And what this is all about is I was inspired about 2 years ago as I was observing the shift in the world, what was happening, not only the changes in the political climate, the changes in the medical climate, and knowing that we were moving through an ascension, it became really clear to me that I was being used to read from the Course in Miracles and allow the presence of, for me, it's the presence of Jesus, to activate through me sharing what the Course in Miracles can do for us as a companion during these massive shifts. So as I became a willing participant, a willing vessel, it was so absolutely beautiful to hear what was being transmitted through me that is designed to help people be able to put into practice into their own lives today the teachings of A Course in Miracles as they pertain to what's happening in the world. And as we can get comfortable with how to utilize these tools, how to ground ourselves in a more peaceful way of being, how to be present with the truth that sets us free, then we can navigate the shifts that are taking place with more ease, with more peace in our heart, but also more importantly, with an awareness that allows us to understand why things are happening. And everything is happening for us. It truly is a remarkable time to be alive. It's an amazing time to be present, to witness the shifts and the changes that are happening, but they are happening because of the frequency that we are holding as divine co-creators in this grand plan it's just absolutely amazing, amazing to be present as not only a witness to the shifts in consciousness, but we are present as a participant in the shift in consciousness. And thank you so much for joining us. It's fun to see, we know when new people join us here. So I just gave a quick little overview of what these beautiful transmissions have been all about for these last 2 years. So it's very exciting to see our community grow and to know that more and more people are watching this. But A Course in Miracles was given to us for this time, channeled over 50 years ago, in print now for 50 years, to help train people's minds, humanity's minds, the minds of those who are moved to the Course in Miracles. Is all by design. The Course in Miracles states that the script is already written. And when I first read that in the Course, I thought, what do you mean the script is written? I thought I had free will and I'm making up my life as I go. And at first it was very offensive to my ego that there is a script that's been written. And then it felt so peaceful and it made so much sense that the script has been written, meaning we agreed before this incarnation to play a specific role because we knew we were coming into this planet, to this 3D experience that was very dense, that was so filled with ego, that was so completely taken over by the greed and the selfishness that is the ego mind, because the ego mind is all about me. To the ego, there is no we unless I get something out of it. So to be able to take these transmissions and apply not only the beautiful words of the Course, because we don't change what the Course states. As a matter of fact, in the introduction, it says that you can't alter what is in the Course. You must receive it exactly as it's given. Now, you can take from it whatever you can handle today or tomorrow in 10 years, but you can't alter the teachings. You cannot change them because they've been given to us in a very specific way that if we put them into practice in our lives, they change us, they transform us. What the course is designed to do is to, I'm going to say, it's a process, first of identifying the ego and then transcending it altogether. Because as we become familiar with the way the ego operates, we will not want to be operating from that way anymore. The ego is about confusion. It's about greed. It's about corruption of the mind, and as within, so without. It's about deception. It's about manipulation. It's about darkness, lies, secrets, guilt, shame, all of those very dense emotions. That's what the ego does, because that's its function. Its function is to block what is light, what is love, what is joy. So the ego has been doing its function for a very long time, thousands of years upon this planet. So the course was given to us at this time to help those who want to understand the ego, to see it in ourselves and then see it outside. Because when we see the ego in those that we have given power to, then we have to take the power away. And we take the power away by recognizing that they are misusing. They're misusing. The course is really simple. They're not, nobody's a sinner, as in there's a bad person, but we are doing not nice things. We're doing mean things to one another. And that is the sin that needs correction. So the Course in Miracles wants us to correct internally our mistakes and then acknowledge them externally so that we can say, hey, Mr. Tyrant President or Miss Head of this organization, maybe head of the CDC, you are overstepping. What you're doing is not loving. What you're doing is not uplifting to humanity. So when we can see it in ourselves, we can spot it in another. Now, to spot it in another with consciousness, with awareness, with forgiveness of that in you is what allows us to then forgive them. Because we cannot get out of the mess that we're in by looking outside of ourselves, blaming and shaming them, because that keeps that frequency on the planet. The only thing that is going to correct is for us to be able to look at those who have done the things that we have seen within ourselves or that we know are possible within ourselves. Once we get comfortable, and I can assure you, it was not easy admitting that I have just as much of the capacity to murder somebody as a cold-blooded murderer today. I could do that if I wanted to. And when I began to acknowledge, wow, yes, I could do any of those things, then who among us can be judging another for doing the very things that we're all capable of doing? That's why Jesus said, don't be pointing at the speck in a brother's eyes until you get that log out of your own. And this journey of understanding the ego is to begin to see the specks in our eyes, how they coagulated and created a massive log in our eyes that we've got to remove so we can see more clearly. But then there's a massive log in our heart that has been blocking us from allowing the flow of kindness, compassion, gentleness, truth to flow. So as we use the Course in Miracles to clear up what's over here, what is out there at first is going to look very dark, because you're going to be looking through the eyes of light, and it's going to look very dark. And then you have to admit, I allowed that to happen because I was complicit. Number one, I wasn't calling it out. Number two, I voted for this to happen. Number three, I paid for it with my taxes. I fund the companies that do things that are unloving. I participate in these things. I had to go through a forgiveness process of my contribution to the very sustainability of the darkness that's been on this planet. We are in the midst of an ascension. The ascension is an opportunity for bifurcation. What bifurcation means is that we're about to split. We're going to split in two. And it is a very natural process, no different than when you harvest wheat, you separate the wheat from the chaff. It's a very common thing that we all must do. So first we do it within ourselves. We sort out what's ego, what's God, what's fear, what's love, what's lie, what's truth. And then we see it outside. And then we see all the complicit participants in perpetuating this delusion, this illusion of they have power and we don't. Because we have got to also come to the place of recognizing that the only way others have power over us is because we've given it to them. That is how powerful we are. And that complete and absolute recognition of our power. And when we take it back, guess what happens? When I now acknowledge all the power of creation that the Creator utilizes through me, as me, I realize then I consciously can use it in service to the greater good of all. In this bifurcation, what is happening is that we have to make a choice. We can no longer sit on the fence. We can no longer have a little bit of light or a little bit of darkness and be okay with that. We've done that for thousands of years. I lived my whole life being nice to some people and being mean to others, and it was normal. My mother did it. My grandmother did it. Their parents did it before that. The whole world operated in you could be nice and naughty at the same time, and it was somehow okay. That's not possible going forward. We are seeing a split. We are seeing those who want to operate in lies, who want to control others, and we're seeing those who don't want that anymore. But here's the thing. One of the biggest opportunities for the spiritual community is to get off of this love and light, everything, unicorns and butterflies, and only want the light, because the spiritual community is the New Age spiritual community. In many ways, even the Christians, it's a huge chunk of people that already understand that there is a greater power. But that big group of people, especially the spiritual community that is all love and light, are only wanting to look at the light and are turning their backs on facing the darkness that they too are complicit in keeping on this planet, meaning they're not using the power of the love and light to look upon that which is dark and say no more. Can you imagine when the entire New Age community says, hey, we're going to stop judging you. We're going to stop judging anybody. We're going to stand firmly and truly being the love and the light, not just looking for the love and the light, because that assumes it's not in you. We have gone through a massive couple of years that have helped us see very clearly how easily too many in the spiritual community were quick to turn on their brothers and sisters who didn't want to participate in taking a shot. That made it so clear that we were blaming them, because if you don't take this shot, then you're going to hurt me. The logic of that became, or the illogicalness of that became so glaringly obvious, then you must not trust this thing that you're putting in your body. Because if you trusted it, you wouldn't care if somebody else did it or didn't. So the mind got so corrupted that we didn't even trust the thing that we were believing in. And then we used that to blame others who didn't participate in our insanity. So we are in the middle of a massive opportunity right now. And I'm going to say, actually, we're at the end. We're at the finish line. 2023 is going to be the line of demarcation in the sand that says, if you still believe that it's okay to allow the blame and the shaming and the lying to be on this planet, if you're allowing it because you're too busy chasing love and light and butterflies, you're basically grounding yourself in that is going to be your reality. If you have made a decision, you're only going to operate from truth and be the love, be the light that shines on anything and everything that needs correction, you are going to see this year, 2023, as an opportunity for the birthing of the new, and you will be part of the new. If you stay inside of the darkness, you are going to have a really rough time, because this is a year of sorting things out, meaning everything that has been sustained with greed and corruption is falling apart. And when it falls apart, your entire world is going to just cave around you, and you're going to be left in total terror, because nothing that you thought was taking care of you is going to be there to take care of you. Yet those who have found their peace with God, found their groundingness in knowing that we are the creators of our reality, that group is busy at work right now, co-creating a new earth, doing what needs to be done to put in motion and place the things that are consistent with the teachings of God. And when we look at A Course in Miracles, and it tells us so clearly in there that our bodies are not made of physical matter. They appear to be, but our bodies are pure energy, meaning that they are the imagination of the creative source of all that is you, the creative source of your reality. You can give total, complete direction to your body to experience the well-being, the connections, everything that you would desire. So those who are busy acknowledging the healing power of the body must clean up their mind and take full ownership of the power that is within us, because we are moving to a world, again, only those who want to go can go, because we have free will. We can stay grounded in the old ways and doing the same thing, expecting a different result and be insane, as the Course tells us is what's been happening, or we can shift and acknowledge that we've been wrong. We've been mistaken. We were thinking incorrectly. So we use A Course in Miracles or other teachings like it, train our mind to correct our insanity. And then we come together to co-create a new earth. Because in the co-creation of a new earth, we begin to care about every one of us, because the work of A Course in Miracles is to lead us to the realization of our oneness. Like a physical body is made up of all these different cells, and each one does something different. They're clustered together. We have the brain cells, we have the arm cells, we have the skin cells, we have the blood cells, we have the liver cells. We as a collective humanity have been operating with cancer in our body and letting that be okay. We now are being asked to look at every cell in our body and say, hey, we are calling you into well-being. And as we each individually come into our own well-being by accepting our power, we cluster together as organs in a body into the communities that are going to be shifting the political system, shifting the education systems, shifting the medical system, shifting the religious systems. As we move into these places and we take the truth that has set us free, we become the co-creators of the new earth, because you've got to be it to see it. You have to be the awareness that is possible for it to manifest in the world. Long gone are the days of seeing it to believe it. The new era is you must believe it and it will be so. It will manifest from your knowingness that that's what you want and deserve. I know that we deserve absolute clean air. We deserve clean water. We deserve clean food. We deserve a transparent government. We deserve a small government. We deserve to be absolutely represented, because this is a world, not just in the American Constitution, but it is the Constitution that we all should be operating from, because it is law. We are equal. We are equal. Therefore, it is a world of the people, by the people, for the people. So we must allow ourselves to find our inspiration, and it's going to come from within, to serve wherever we are called to serve: the financial system, the so many things, the food system, to be in service to bringing forth what is the new earth. So today we're going to continue on the teachings that we had from last week. And last week we looked at lesson 135. So if you happen to have your Course in Miracles book, go to lesson 135. And we went through paragraphs 1 and 2 last week. The title of this lesson is "If I Defend Myself, I Am Attacked." This is about taking 100% responsibility. We don't need to defend ourselves at all. Because if we're defending ourselves, our mind got polluted into thinking, I need to protect myself from these people or whatever it is. And that's a fallacy that needs to be changed. We don't need to defend ourselves. When you're aligned with truth and you are operating from the power of God's laws, you don't need to defend anything. You don't need to convince anybody of anything. You just need to be the one who shines your light brightly, and you stand fearlessly, because that's what happens. When you know truth, you have no fear. You stand fearlessly, emanating the truth that is coming through you. And you will do it whether you're a mom at home, whether you're a dad at work. It doesn't matter where you are. When your heart has been aligned, not my will, but yours be done, God, Creator, Source, Spirit, Buddha, Bambi, whatever you want to call it. But when you give to that source that created you the ability to rule the world through you. It can only operate with love because it knows it is one with all that is and only has the best of intentions, the purest of intentions for all beings. So before we start the reading of paragraph number 3, I want to open this up. Does anybody have anything that you want to share? Especially if you've been practicing Course in Miracles, how have, the last conversation last week about this specific chapter or this specific lesson, if you want to share any of that, unmute yourself. And if no one has anything to share, then I will proceed with the reading and let the transmissions keep flowing.
I have a question, Laina.
Hello there, Scott.
Hi. Yeah, I've been definitely. This is the first time I watched your video a couple weeks ago, which was really really inspiring and definitely makes you think. But I'm also going through, I guess, what you could say the balancing of the ego. With my kids and family. One of the reasons why I moved to Colorado is because everybody was in a pretty much where I was staying at wasn't a dark place or, gambling, drinking, poor me attitude, everybody's against me, that type of thing. Like they're helpless. And that's why I pretty much just got, picked up and left and moved to Colorado. And also I've been having a lot of problems letting go of my kids and my ex and that too, because, they're your family, and I was always brought up that, you should always be there for your family. So it's been definitely a process of, of learning why I hold on to, your loved ones, when they're not good for you, And so it's definitely what you're saying is definitely resonating with the ego and balancing out, because obviously the ego is something also that's good. It's not completely terrible because it helps us survive and that, but obviously we've been told lies, like you said, since for thousands of years about what we think existence is. So just want to say I'm resonating with you very much with this, and love it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I am going to say this for you and for everybody, especially anybody new listening to this that is not familiar with my work. I used to believe that there was a good side to the ego until I really delved into the teachings of the Course. And so I always recommend people look at the ego from 2 places. One is, if as a child, we created ways of dealing with the world when we did not have parents who were conscious, who taught us to own our own truth, when we were taught that we could manipulate others by screaming or pouting or whatever, we learned conditional love. The ego did its part in teaching us to navigate a crazy world. So it felt like protection. And that is, anybody who feels that the ego is helpful, then you've got to work through that perception until you totally and completely come to the place of realizing that protection that the ego creates that appears to keep us safe, actually, when we are an adult, is a prison, because then we operate from those same behaviors as an adult, and we are protecting ourselves as if we were a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old child, which is what is running the world. Is a bunch of people who are operating from a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old immature, selfish, greedy child that's only cares about itself. As a little child in an environment with insane parents, that's the best that we can do. Keep doing that if that is all that you can do. But as an adult, we have to be very gently reparenting ourselves and give to us to our own selves what we didn't receive as a child, because when we come to a clear mind, there is no ego. Ego is thoughts. Ego is not, it's not anything solid. Nobody can delete. You can't have surgery and have your ego removed. So it's not something that is in you. It's a thought system. It's the belief that, oh, I got to take care of me. When I say I got to take care of me, that translates to, it's all about me. If I don't do it myself, it can't get done. That's a block to allowing God's will to be done through me. The ego is what blocks us from fully surrendering to God. And God, when we understand that God is a loving God, it's a creator that is all about expansion. Ego is about contraction. For us to be able to allow ourselves to receive that which God wants to experience through each and every one of us, we can't have an immature mind running the show and have the creative source giving us inspiration for something that is so grand that our little mind cannot comprehend. And if it can, it's going to use it for selfish means. This is why incredible healing modalities, amazing technologies are going to be entering the planet. Well, many of them have been on the planet, but many ideas are going to be coming to the minds of many people here, but they haven't been instituted, because you give a beautiful, amazing idea to an adult who is thinking like a selfish 3-year-old, it's all about me, throwing tantrums. If they don't get their way, they will weaponize those ideas. They will use them for selfish means that will hurt others. So we have got to get to the place that we understand the limitations of the ego and then work to transcend them. Not to bash the ego, because we don't want to be in judgment of anything, but a recognition that it is time for us to grow up and take up the mantle of truth, of love, of light, and allow ourselves to be co-creators with one another and with God, because we're going to be operating in what is in the greater good of all. When you're operating with that level of trust, you don't need to protect yourself. You don't need to defend yourself. So as people are being called to make changes in their lives, leaving families, leaving areas that we've been living in, moving, quitting jobs, shifting things, it's because we have to be moved to where we get to do the work that needs to be done in the most efficient space that it can be done in. Many are being called to leave their families. Many are being called to leave their jobs. And it's because we are being moved to where the healing will be most efficient and effective, that eventually from our healed place, we actually will emanate the compassion and the integrity to say to those that we had to leave, please forgive me. And the forgiveness will come from a very pure place that says, I needed to heal myself so I can be a better person for you. And that's coming. We are being propelled fast and furious through the energies that this planet is receiving towards the total and complete liberation of the mind. But until we are free, we got to look at how we were put in bondage. And that requires 100% responsibility for our participation in it. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for what you shared. And take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This is given freely as a transmission that is moving through me. And I'll tell you, sometimes things come out of my mouth here because I give God permission to speak, that I go back and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that came out, but I need to hear the truth as well, because I'm expanding. I'm not done with my expansion. It's a beginning today. In this now moment, it's the beginning of my expansion, as it is for all of us. So let's go to paragraph 3. And before we go to paragraph 3, I just want to read this from paragraph 2. You operate from the belief that you must protect yourself from what is happening because it must contain what threatens you. We have been conditioned. It's part of our legal system. that we need a defense attorney. We need to protect ourselves. We've got to have the police defending us, law enforcement to defend us from the bad people. So our minds have been conditioned in the believing that there are good people and bad people, those who need defending and those who need prosecution. So when we see these two opposites, we then need to begin to understand that as long as I'm operating with this idea that there are threats out there, I am always going to need defending. I'm always going to need the police. I'm always going to need a defense attorney. We give permission for that to be our reality. So then, of course, as creators, it's going to have to be there. Course in Miracles wants us to understand that if we decide we don't need defense, then we don't need externally those who are defending us. Now, while we have billions of people in the planet that do believe that attack and defense make sense, well, let's keep the police there. Let's keep the defense attorneys there. As we are moving towards cleaning up internally the I don't need defense, well, what happens is when you begin to realize how magnificent you are, how beautiful, how powerful, how lovely you are, you begin to operate as one who is kind and generous and doing for the greater good of all. You're not going to be going out of your way to attack anybody. So this new earth that we are co-creating, we don't need anybody defending people who don't do anything to hurt anybody else. So that utopia is coming, but we have to be the change we want to see in the world. If you want a world where we don't need police, don't defund the police that right now is protecting the people from those who operate at this level of consciousness. You don't fund, oh, that's my little doggy. She wants to go out. You don't fund the police when you realize, oh, there are no crimes. Then the police on its own begins to, let me let my doggy out. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Thought I had my assistant ready to take over, but it didn't work out that way today. So you don't fund the police when you realize, oh, we haven't had crimes. We can go ahead and, let's retire this person. Let's retire that person. And before you know it, police is unnecessary in a world where people have learned to police their own thoughts, have learned to understand what is happening in their own mind, in their own consciousness. They are fully, completely prepared to allow God to move through them. And when God is moving through us, we cannot hurt our brothers and sisters. It is absolutely not possible to hurt another. But we don't need to be defunding the police until there are many of us that are operating at that level of consciousness. In the meantime, we do what we need to do to get to create the space that is healthy and that is optimally the best that it can possibly be for a community that happens to be living here at this time. So we have to get really clear, as it says here, you operate from the belief that you must protect yourself from what is happening because it must contain what threatens you. Course in Miracles wants you to look at what threatens you. Why do you operate with the sense of threat when you are a powerful creator? Let's go to paragraph 3. Defense is frightening. Yes, it is. It can be very scary to think that you have to defend yourself. Most of you know that I am moving in the house that I've been living with a couple of roommates. We are in the process of moving out of here. We did not renew our lease, and everybody's going to move in their own direction. And yesterday we had the local sheriff came and gave us these eviction notices. And we looked at that and went, what the heck? What is this all about? And what was so funny is I knew, we haven't done anything to warrant an eviction. So they must have made a mistake at the corporate office. So we just went through the process of looking into, informing the people, because we don't want to not honor what the court is expecting of us, but we need to get the people who made the mistake to correct it on their end, because I can go to court and tell them all day long, hey, and show them the chart of accounts. we don't miss our payments. But that's not going to help unless the ones who are attacking are the ones who are notified of the mistake that they made. So here, defense is frightening. If I didn't have the consciousness that I have, I would have been scared. Oh my God, I got to defend myself from the sheriff department. I got to defend myself against the leasing company that they've made an error. I'd be ready and prepared to go attack them for the attack that I'm perceiving they're doing that I need to defend myself from. But with a consciousness that states, you know what? I know what's happening here. Somebody made a mistake. This is just something that needs correction. It's not personal. They didn't do this to hurt me. Somebody made an error. Then he goes on to say, I'll start again with defense is frightening. Yeah, to the ego, it's very frightening. It stems from fear, increasing fear as each defense is made. Because every time we think we need to defend ourselves, we are activating for us more and more fear. Oh, I got to protect myself. I've got to go get my bank statements. I got to get this, scared. What if I go to the court? Scared. What if the judge doesn't believe me? Scared. What if those people come after me? Scared. What if this ruins my record? Fear gets added on and on and on. You think it offers safety because I'm going to lawyer up. I'm going to be safe. No, I'm just going to be very scared and maybe thousands of dollars out of pocket for defending myself. Yet it speaks of fear made real and terror justified. Because when we go into defending ourselves, we are justifying that we should be in fear. By the pure statement, I need to defend myself. In my mind, I'm making a justification. This is where the immature ego kicks in. I need to protect myself from you because I believe that you are going to hurt me. Well, if you can look at it objectively with your mature mind, you realize, this doesn't make sense. All my statements show clearly that I have paid everything. I don't need to defend anything. I just need to show what is already so. That doesn't require defense. That just requires a little extra time to bring the documents or to bring the attention to those who can bring correction. That doesn't mean I need to defend myself. Nothing was done. There is no guilt that needs to be protected. Only when we are guilty do we need to defend ourselves and convince somebody about how wrong they are. This is why Jesus did not mind being crucified when he was searched out and they were saying you are in the wrong. What you're doing is illegal. You're going around telling people that they're as powerful as God is. You can't go around doing that. We are the powerful people. We're the Romans in charge here. We're the Pharisees in charge of whatever. And when those rabbis began to say, Jesus, what you're talking about is not what is written in the word of God. It doesn't go with the laws of God. I mean, God's given us all of these laws through Moses, through whomever. We've got 600 plus laws that we follow. And Jesus is saying, well, if you knew God, you only need 2 laws. Actually, it's only one. Love your neighbor and love yourself. Because if you love your neighbor and you treat your neighbor as yourself, which is known as the golden rule, if you do to others as you'd like them to do to you, we don't need the police. Because we would all be kind and gentle and loving with one another. But we can't do that because as children raised by unconscious people, we call them wolves, raised by wolves in the wild, we created mechanisms of self-protection and we justify the need for that defense. And then we go out into the world and say, yeah, of course we need police. Of course we need the army. Of course, we need all of these attorneys and lawyers and crazy things that have made this world such a daunting world to navigate because of all the obstacles we have placed in the way for one another because we've forgotten to love each other. So correction is happening now. 2023 is going to be the year that we see more clearly all of the obstacles that have been in the way. Before, we just kind of worked around them, but now the obstacles have been growing and growing and growing, but the light, those who are seeing clearly our light is getting brighter and brighter and brighter, so we can see more clearly the obstacles in our way, only for those who have the eyes to see them. Those in denial will not see the obstacles. They're going to be offended by the exposure of those things that have not been loving. But this is just what is happening because deep down inside in our hearts, before we incarnated, we knew we wanted a world that was sustainable for all. So now what has been preventing that is coming to the surface for us to see. And it couldn't be there without our participation. Willingly participating with that, or complicit, denying that it had any power over us because I'm over here chasing butterflies and dragonflies. So Course in Miracles tells us we got to clean up our thought system. We don't need to be defending ourselves against the ugliness of the world. We need to face it from a place that knows the truth inside. So sentence number 5 says, is it not strange you do not pause to ask, as you elaborate your plans and make your armor thicker and your locks more tight, what you defend and how and against what? Why are we defending ourselves? Why are we scared of bad people? Well, we're scared of bad people because we have not all been raised remembering the goodness of who we are. We defend ourselves from bad people who do bad things because we have had systems that have allowed for the lack of fathers and mothers in the home. We have systems that literally justify so many things that are absolutely unloving. We separate children from their parents at a young age because, well, we need mothers and fathers both to be working instead of one staying at home. Why is that? Why is it so difficult for a mother or a dad, if it's a dad that wants to stay home, to do the natural thing of nurturing your child or having flexible work if that's what you're wanting to do? Why is that not a priority? Why isn't every corporation not engaged in ensuring that those who want to nurture their children stay home to nurture their children, or create the flexible ways for that to happen? Because we have become a world that is greedy, that is selfish. And when the corporation needs more money and more profits than taking care of the people, then we've got moms and dads that are exhausted, that send their little ones, I did, to daycare when they're so young and impressionable, and they become one of a whole bunch of kids that one other adult that's not their parent, that is working a job, has to now care for them. And what happens in a situation like that when you've got little ones, 1, 2, 3 years old? We all know, those of us who have had kids, we know at that age, they require so much love and attention, and we put them in the exact place they're not going to get that. At the exact time that the egos are being formed into selfishness, into self-protection, into greediness, that's the time when the whole world should be supporting the moms and the dads who want either the flexibility or, better yet, the ability to stay home with their kids for as long as possible, to help to create a healthy, nurturing environment for the child to grow up knowing who they are, a loving expression of God itself. So to clean up the mess over here, we've got to ask the question. We've got to ask the question, why do we continue to add alarm systems or make the gates stronger and more powerful? Why do we continue to protect ourselves from the bad people? Why not find out how did bad people, how did that happen when we're all loving beings? How did we get to that place when what we are is the light? We need to find out what causes this over here so we can go to the place of the beginning so we can start correcting. Well, it requires that we look at ourselves, at how we have participated. We've been complicit in allowing some of our brothers and sisters to not be cared for because we were too busy taking care of me. And it's not a bad thing. It's an awareness that needs to be activated so that when we become aware of our interconnection, we will have had the contrast of saying, well, when I'm selfish, yes, this hurts everybody. But when I am I am in a state of recognition of connection and collaboration and co-creation, it serves the greater good of all. The minds have to be totally, completely rewired. We call that creating new neurological pathways to accept the truth that has been true always, but now needs to become a reality. We must want to operate from that level of recognition that we all collectively must do everything that we can to help ensure that all children get a solid foundation. Of course, we got to train, a lot of people have to be trained into what conscious parenting is all about. That means people need to be comfortable realizing that we didn't know how to parent. We've been parenting like wolves. And it's okay. It's giving us the contrast for us to see that when we work with the child from the beginning, this is why we have to become like little children. We've got to heal our own wounded little child inside, reparenting ourselves today to operate consciously from a mature place to ensure that the children who are coming in are being raised in a way that is consistent with the truth of who we are, so that they will always remember the magnificence that they brought to the planet that is in there, that is who they are, so they will live from that. Then the locks and the security systems and the police, those things will not be necessary down the road, but we are not there yet. We're still at the point where, yes, the numbers of us who are becoming conscious is growing, but there are not yet enough conscious people focusing on where the issues are and want to bring our attention to where the correction needs to happen. But it starts with the mind. So we change our mind, we clear our mind of our thinking, and then we move into the action that is necessary to experience a world that has been transformed. Paragraph number 4 says, let us consider first what you defend. It must be something that is very weak and easily assaulted, because if you got to protect it, then you think it's fragile. So here, the words used here are that are weak and easily assaulted. It must be something made easy prey, unable to protect itself and needing your defense. What but the body has such frailty that constant care and watchful, deep concern are needful to protect its little life? What but the body falters and must fail to serve the Son of God as worthy host? So these are the kinds of things that make people run away from the Course in Miracles. The Course wants us to understand that we're not a body. And it even states, I'm not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. We have been so identified with our body that we don't pay attention to the mind that projected this body into reality. In the beginning was the word, meaning a thought, a desire. And that desire then created the physical vessel that we have. But we're trying to protect our body. We don't want the robber coming into the house because I don't want him to either, kill me, hurt me, maim me, or my stuff. So we are focused on stuff, physical body, physical furniture, physical jewelry, physical, whatever you might want to think of it, physical money. So Course in Miracles wants us to understand that because we are attempting to defend a body, stuff, we are not using our mind to make the corrections that would allow for the ending of needing defenses. So I hope that this is making sense. People leave A Course in Miracles when they hear things like this and they're not ready. They don't have the maturity to say, let me explore what this is saying, because it goes totally against our thought system. What do you mean I shouldn't defend my body? Well, it's not saying don't take care of your physical vessel while you're here. It's saying while you do that, pay attention to where the power lies. Pay attention to really where the source of the power that powers the body is. So for example, if you've got a toaster in your house and it's not, something goes wrong and you think it's not working, And all that happened was that the circuit breaker got tripped. Getting a brand new toaster is not going to help you toast your toast. It's just simply not going to do it for you. And most of us are trying to fiddle with the physical stuff, not going to the source, to the power. Go turn the breaker on, connect back to God, align with a source of power that is really, truly that which is going to toast your toast. But in our zealousness, in our instant gratification society, we'll run to the store and go look for a brand new toaster, especially if we can find one on sale. Maybe it's Black Friday and really get a good deal. We will go through the trouble to do that, bring it home, plug it in, and still get no toast. And then we're upset with the toaster. But did you go look at the breaker? Did you go look at the source of the power? That's what we need to focus our attention on. Course in Miracles is training our mind. Course in Miracles is not interested in training our bodies at all, because it knows that the body will fall in line when the mind gets trained into the awareness, not only of the truth of who we are, but the recognition that the laws are the laws and they apply to everybody equally. Can you imagine when 8 billion people have trained their mind to operate from love and not fear? Will we even need an army? Why are we all working ourselves to the bone to pay taxes that fund a military, that fund a war over in Ukraine, where people are killing each other? Why are we doing that instead of looking at correcting our minds? If we knew that we belonged to each other, if we knew that we were brothers and sisters, we wouldn't do what we're doing. But why do we have wars? Because people become territorial. This is my land. This is my physical stuff. This is my place. This is mine. Like a 2-year-old, mine, throwing a tantrum. Well, we are going to continue to do the same thing, expecting, a different result, and never change anything. We have thousands of years of history of governments warring with one another, conquering each other's lands, and never bringing about peace. There is not a single military that has brought us peace, not one. And yet we go work ourselves to the bone to fund a system that doesn't give us what we want. That is insanity. This is why the Course in Miracles says, let's go to the source of power within you. Once you realize that it is a benevolent source, it was designed for expansion, designed for collaboration and co-creation. That's what it does. And if you take the time to question your thoughts, to question why do I defend myself? And you make a list of all of the things, and I'm going to give this to you as an assignment, if you want to look at it that way, a suggestion. Begin to question, why do you defend what you defend? Why do you defend your home? Why do you put locks on the door? I lock my door. I'm part of that. I'm in this world and I understand what this world does. Now I live in an area that I really actually am not even concerned because of where I live. I have zero concern of anybody walking into this house, but there are other parts of the city where my son lives. Yeah, lock your door. Because while we are operating with people who are unconscious, well, why put yourself in harm's way when you can easily, through the locking of the door, do take care of what is there until the consciousness of that area, the consciousness of the planet, is at a place where nobody has to lock their door. So I want to stop here because to continue into the next paragraph is going to open a whole can of worms about the body. And I rather we come to that fresh next week. So I'm going to stop here and ask, did you get any nuggets from this conversation? Just unmute yourself. I would love to hear if there were nuggets, if you heard things that triggered, let me look at that. Maybe that's a totally different way of looking at things, because Jesus, in giving us A Course in Miracles, gave us a system that requires time to be implemented so that it will actually change our perception. Until our perceptions are totally shifted so that we operate from love and not fear, we need to address things one at a time, individual things, and be gentle with ourselves as we go through the process of questioning all of our beliefs, because it is our beliefs that created our reality. And until we change our beliefs, we're not going to have a different reality. All right, so just unmute yourselves if you want to make any comments. And if not, then we will complete and we can come back next week.
Hi, Laina. It's Carol Brand. How are you?
Hello, Carol. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's been great. I just wanted to say that I popped on because I like what you had to say on Facebook, but I have been learning this stuff for the last several years. I came out of evangelical Christianity and realized that wasn't working. I was in it for 30 years or so and realized that most Christians are depressed, poor, and unhealthy. So I just really started searching for a better way, and found out that really the Bible as it's written today is totally mistranslated. If you go back to the Hebrew and the original writings, a lot of the words that are in the Bible today weren't even in the original writings. So having said that, just truly found out, and it was a real paradigm shift for me to realize who I really am and that I am one with God.
Yeah.
So I am really God. I am one with God, and I have the creative ability residing within me. And I've created my life by my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So now, and I've seen it so much happen now in my own life, that I simply go within. If I want to see change, I just simply go within and see it and believe that it's already happened. That's the creative ability. And I think if enough of the population, and I think there is an awakening going on, enough of the population starts to see how we want the world to be, it will transform into that. But I don't concern myself anymore with politics or this or that or somebody outside of me. If I want to see changes in my own life, my health, my finances, I simply go within and believe it's already been done, because I put a comment on here that we have already been given everything. Everything is already ours. Total abundance, total health, total freedom. The thing is, because of our thought patterns and our programming as children, we've lost that. So it's that being born again to me now doesn't mean saying the magic words, I accept Jesus. Being born again is coming to know who you truly, oh, here, I should put on my video, is coming to know truly who you are, right?
Exactly.
And there are such really great teachers out there that are teaching this, including yourself. But I never really delved into A Course in Miracles. I've just primarily kept it very simple. I listened to a ministry out of Colorado, actually, and he's phenomenal. He's actually opened my eyes to so many things. But it's exciting because I've changed my income. I've changed my health. I changed my world around me by going within, not expecting anybody out there to do anything for me, but to go within and see it as done. So I appreciate what you're teaching, and I hope my comments were helpful.
Absolutely. And we are the second coming of the Christ, because the Christ consciousness, each and every one of us can activate the Christ consciousness. And Jesus was simply showing us how he did it. He showed us the way he did it. And if we do it exactly as he did it, which is to accept, as you said, that each and every one of us is God expressing itself, then we activate the Christ consciousness, which is the awareness of the truth of who I am. Then we live from that. And so to your comment about, you might not get involved with politics, there are so many people. Well, every one of us is called to get involved where we're called to be involved.
Sure.
And there are many who have been called to be involved in politics to clean it up. So as we begin to see the collapsing of the political structures, stay open and aware to maybe where you might be called to serve. I feel that political service is in my future, not right now, but when I moved to Colorado, I feel that in the town that I'm going to, I can sense that I'll be involved in city council in some way, shape, or form. But I am definitely going to be paying attention to what's happening there. I'm going to have my ear to the candidates that are involved, whether I donate money, whether I donate my time, whether I go sit and listen to what's happening, because the governance of the world on the outside is a reflection of the governance that we have to do with our own inner world. And if we want to be vigilant for only integrity and love in here, we also have to be vigilant for those who are of integrity and love out there. So we're being called to serve in whether it's the medical world or whether it's in the education system, we're called to serve, whether it's taking care of an aging parent. It doesn't matter where we're called to serve. We are being called to serve from a place of love, and that is what matters. So hear the calling in your heart that calls you, number one, to connect with the source, the creative source of all that is, and allow it to inspire us. And each and every one of us is going to be used like a piece of the puzzle to be exactly where we need to be until we all see a full picture of the goodness that is possible on this planet. And it's only going to become a reality if we decide that we are worthy of having that as our real experience. Because to your point, Carol, the Bible, as so many beautiful teachings that we were given that came from pure love, have been deliberately altered for the purpose of control. And we, in our lack of awareness, fell into that, meaning not only do we need to reclaim our innocence, we were innocent, we didn't know that that's what it was, but we need to reclaim the responsibility to, now that we know that we were duped, that we correct that for future generations so that our children are not raised with misinformation. So definitely sharing that with my kids so that they raise their kids with that awareness is crucial. But thank you so much for joining and your comments. And if anybody else has anything to share, go ahead and unmute yourself. Miss
Hi.
Hello, Miss Kat.
Hello. Well, I just want to say, Makai, I've been on this path for probably like 40 years. If you really go back, I started with Ram Dass. I don't know if any of y'all know who he is, but that was a long time ago. And then he took me to a channel, and then he took me to, so I've been with many teachers who are just, or I don't know if you, well, they're just, yeah, they are all teachers. And I have to say, I've been with Laina for like probably 8 or 9 years. We're not sure. It goes so far back. But this has been one of the most profound experiences of my life, to follow Laina, to be in her grace and her wisdom is just changed my life. And it truly has. It's not just a saying. So I just want y'all to know how much Laina is treasured, because she truly is. And so I'm just saying that because I love her so much.
Oh, thank you, sister. You know, it's once I committed to sharing only the truth that comes through me, then it's totally changed my life. And I see the life of those who I get to journey with, that the course calls my mighty companions as students or coaching clients. But this is a time where we have so many teachers on the planet, and we have so many, and many of them are young, like my little grandson, 20 months old. He's my teacher also, because he teaches me about being in the now and about playing and about remembering to trust, because he trusts that all his needs are going to be taken care of like the lilies of the valley. And it reminds me to trust my creator and me as the creator to stay in that place of present right now, in this now moment that is all that exists. So, well, anybody who watches this, if you like this, please share it. You go to my website, lainaorlando.com. I've got a free course on there called The Soul's Journey. And it explains how we fall into the dream and how we know we've got to go through steps to wake up. And also on my YouTube channel, I've got the entire 365 lessons of A Course in Miracles. I read them, I explain them, I give examples of my own life, how I put those into practice. And they're there in the playlist if you want to see them in order under 365 ACIM lessons. I have an introduction to A Course in Miracles, and it's 12 hours worth of training that I did explaining what A Course in Miracles is. Can you use 12 hours to learn about the course? Yes, you can. Probably can use more than that. Anyways, I am all about putting into practice what I am learning, because too many people are walking around this planet with a lot of spiritual knowledge in their head, and it's not grounded into action. And that action is not just about doing something, it's about being the love that we already are. That is an action, is to allow the love, the light to extend from us, is an active participation with the shift in consciousness that we're in. And if you know that you want a better world, then you must become that better world within first. And from there, the rest takes care of itself. It really, really does. So thank you for being here. Come back next Wednesday. Bring your friends, share this with others, and let's spread the message, the good news that we are really the creators of our own reality. We have the power. But first, we must take responsibility for how that power was misused, albeit unconsciously, because that is the process of reversing what we have, how we have misused our power, so that our power can be directed consciously towards what it is that we desire to experience. And it only works if it's for the greater good of all. Thank you all so much for being here. See you all next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.